like me. Try and keep up, okay?
Hey, what's up, guys? So today I'm here with my friend Rogue Killswitch. Say hi.
Hi.
Hi. And we're gonna bring the D.va video that I told you guys has been in the works for a little bit now. We're gonna encompass a bunch of things such as ult spot locations, how to play D.va in the current meta, and etc. We're gonna be covering pretty much everything from the basics to personal preferences to even little tips and tricks that we just like personally. So everything is going to be, I don't know, from beginner level just stuff to more advanced things, because my friend here is actually like one of the best divas I know. And aren't you like top 10 globally or something?
9.
Yeah, number 9. So yeah, we could provide some more advanced tips too, and just a little bit of everything, personal things, whatever. So yeah, I'll include timestamps in the description, so if you guys want to skip around, feel free to do so. If you just want to, I don't know, skip to ult spots or just tips or whatever. So first thing we're going to talk about is D.va in the current meta. As everybody knows, because of the constant complaints, D.va was incredibly, or not incredibly broken, but she was pretty broken like season 3. D.va got nerfed after that. They like adjusted her health and her armor, and she got an adjustment with like the damage and how many bullets and all, just all this stuff. Since then, shortly after the nerf, everybody was saying that D.va was dead and nobody played her, and I was a firm believer in the D.va, and I still played her in comp. And I even had a lot of people tell me like, oh, why are you throwing, you're going D.va, she got nerfed, she's trash now, which I always found quite interesting, because I'm like, I don't think she's that bad. But now D.va has not been, I don't know, tuned or buffed or anything in any sort of way since all those people saying that D.va's dead and trash and everything like that. But now she's regarded to as really OP, broken, everybody's saying all these things. So the reason for that, I think, is the meta is so strong right now for D.va. Dive is just incredible. My friend and I were talking a little bit before we did this video, and we kind of agreed that a really strong meta right now. Obviously it changes, but a good team comp is like a Winston and a D.va.
Tracer Pharah, Tracer Genji.
A good Reaper.
Yeah, Reaper if they're running counter dive.
Yeah, all those things. And then definitely, would you agree, Lucio Mercy is probably the best right now? Speed boost and res. Yeah.
For most comps, yeah.
I don't know. It seems like so far in season 5, if you don't have a Mercy, it's like low-key throw.
It's kind of a throw.
Yeah. This is what I've noticed. But yeah, so definitely D.va is 100% yes in this meta right now. I play really aggressively with D.va. I'm always like frontlining, or not always, because I do a mix, but a lot of times I play up in the front lines. I'm helping, like especially if we have like a Tracer Genji or something, I'm always up there pushing targets, prioritizing targets with the Tracer and the Genji, and hopefully the Winston's there to follow up, everything like that. And we end up staggering and getting quick picks and stuff like that. But another good way to play D.va, and you could do a mix of the both, you don't have to do one or the other, it's actually better to balance two, is you can play her really defensively, which is what my friend Rogue here is like super incredible at doing. So you could go in a little bit and tell him how to play her really defensively.
It depends if you're playing with a Reinhardt or a Winston. If you're playing with a Reinhardt, you just kind of play behind their shield just a little bit, kind of eat everything that's coming in that can really damage his shield. If you're playing with a Winston, play with up with him, and your DPS probably have a Tracer. Kind of play in and out of Winston's bubble, so you take less damage, because D.va is doesn't take a whole lot of damage.
Depending on your team comp or how you decide to run it, or like what kind of comp you're deciding to run, I guess I should say, really determines where you should be. If you have a Winston or a Reinhardt, you want to stick with them or behind the Reinhardt shield or with the Winston. And then depending on what healers you're running, maybe you want to be kind of sticking maybe closer to the healers, not like with them, but at least in distance that you could boost over to them if, say, there's like a really good Genji or a Tracer on the other team that's constantly harassing your Zenyatta in the backlines or something. That defense matrix definitely will come in clutch, where you could just defense matrix your Zen and he can land a couple headshots or even just body shots or whatever on the discorded target and just knock him out, and then you can return back to like the team fight itself, where you're already, because of that kill that they got, you're already at a 6v5. So it's good, and you're protecting your healers. So that's a good thing with D.va. It's all about balance, I think. Would you agree? Kind of like there's no really set place where you should be.
Yeah, you're the utility. Like, if peeling off for your healers is a big thing. Like, if your Mercy needs help, she kind of needs to stay alive. Or if your Zen's getting dived by a really good Genji or Tracer, you can go back and peel for them and just Matrix them. Maybe they land a shot or two, like you said. Another thing is finishing low HP targets, because you're very mobile. So, like, if there's a one-shot Mercy up top, you go for her.
For sure.
And you can just land like a boost melee combo. It does quite a bit of damage.
And adding on to that as well, at least how I play D.va, I always make sure that I don't leave targets on low health. I know obviously sometimes you can't avoid it, but you don't want to be that type of person that's just kind of sitting in the middle of a team fight, spraying around, doing damage everywhere. You really want to pick one target, prioritize them. Specifically, like Rogue was saying, maybe a Mercy that's, I don't know, up top and your team doesn't really have the team comp to go and up there and contest her. On the topic of using your boosters and utilizing it for booping and getting people off high ground and stuff like that, we're gonna go a little bit more into it. So we talked a bit about, I don't know, getting people off the high ground, everything like that. You could definitely use the booster but you can. Even if you can't go up there and finish her before she flies to safety, at least you got her off of that high ground, the potential hiding spot, whatever. Same goes for soldiers or Hanzos or Widows or anything. If they're on high ground, sometimes they'll have a pocketed Mercy. Chances are you're not going to win a fight against a soldier that has his like healing pod and a pocketed Mercy. You're not going to win that like 1v2. But what you can do is pressure them off of high ground, or even if you have your boost, you could boost them off high ground and it takes away that advantage that they have over your team, just by, I don't know, pushing them off the high ground or just putting some sort of pressure on them that they also lose focus from your team and the advantage that they had with the high ground over them, and they're kind of more distracted by you and you can get rid of all the leverage that they have over your team. So that's good. You definitely want to start prioritizing and thinking about how you can take the advantage away from the enemy team, given height and just your mobility and stuff like that. Boosting like into a team fight or into an enemy or anything, even if it's just for the environmental kill, always use the melee after that, because if you're doing it to boot people further or boot them off the edge or whatever, it'll boot them further. But also if you're doing it just into a team fight or to a 1v1 or anything, you'll do that extra damage on that person. Another thing, it's really good to utilize your boosters for interruptions of sort. Like my favorite thing to do is when I hear Genji ulting, no matter where he is or who he's going after or whatever, I just seek him out and I boost into him. Reason being is Genji especially, but you can do this with different people. Like think about Reaper or like when they're ulting, or even if they're not ulting. But Genji specifically as our example, you could really mess up his dash and like his potential dash reset, everything like that, if you hear him ult and you boop him out of position and then he can't reach the target he was going for, therefore he can't get the kill, can't get the dash reset, and can't, you know, just repeat whatever the saying is. So yeah, definitely be cautious of stuff like that. You could utilize your booster for way more than just getting from point A to point B. You could use it to boot people off, you could use it to establish high ground, take high ground away from people, mess up people's ults, so many things you can utilize it for, so make sure you don't cut it short. Alright, so next thing we're going to cover is Defense Matrix. When to use it, when not to use it, how to use it more particularly, because it doesn't last forever. Good times to use your Defense Matrix. In my opinion, some of the best times to use it, aside from eating ults and all that, we could get into that a little bit later. Big team fights, when you think about it, D.va is not really meant to be the big damage dealer of the game. She's not like, I don't know, the soldier or the Reaper. She's not meant to be there in the face, like dealing all the damage. She's kind of there to assist the team. And in big fights like that, it's almost better, instead of trying to do little pelt damage, just put the Defense Matrix up, have it in the face of the enemy team, and let your DPS do the damage, at least until your Defense Matrix runs out, because you're denying the enemy team ult charge while giving your team the opportunity to not only get ult charge and everything like that, but also get some picks and stuff like that.
Eating with Matrix. It's good to eat a bunch of Zaryas, like little L2s, because they just do quite a bit of damage, depending on her charge. a lot of things like shurikens, eating helix rockets, stuff like that. Eating for like a tracer if she's coming behind your team, you can eat like that.
Especially eating to protect your healers too. Like if
Peeling
you have,
off of them.
like if you have a Zenyatta in the background and you see that there's a tracer harassing them, if you just put up your defense matrix over your Zenyatta, who quite frankly fits perfectly in your snug little defense matrix, so he's safe. He could discord, and if they're a half decent Zen, I'm sure they can land a couple shots on the tracer and kill her before your defense matrix runs out. And even if he doesn't, he'll get her pretty low, or at least force out recall or something, and then you could help him finish the job, and more than likely you'll be able to win that 2v1. So you'd be getting a pick while still protecting your healer, everything like that, just by utilizing your defense matrix, which charges up pretty fast. Like, it's not like an ult or anything that you're not going to get back for a while.
You shouldn't constantly have full matrix. It should pretty much be like low all the time. You should be using it a lot because it recharges pretty quick, like you said.
The only time that I would suggest not to have it low is for in terms of when you know that the enemy team is gonna have their ult, and it's obvious too when the enemy has their ult. Like, they play a lot more aggressive, or not necessarily just aggressive, but their play style changes a little bit. The most obvious one being a Reaper. Usually he thinks he's slick, standing above your teammate, looking down, like waiting for the perfect moment to drop on you and Beyblade, but like, you know, you're not Slick Reaper. So times like that, if you know that's about to come, call it out to your team, but also make sure your defense matrix is charged. Because you don't want it to drop and then you not have matrix because you're trying to block the Hanzo scatter arrow, you know, like you definitely want to have it prioritized for that. But when you know that your team isn't in danger of any sort of ults or anything like that, then definitely do exactly what Rogue said and always utilize it. Always make sure you're just making the most of it, making it the most effective.
Eating grabs is something I want to talk about. Baiting them. If you see a Zarya walking up to you, it's pretty obvious she's gonna grab. Like, there's no that Tracer's pulse bombing. If you see them like blinking towards you really quickly or blinking towards the healer, just have your matrix up because they're probably gonna throw a pulse bomb or something.
For sure, especially if you get caught in a grab. It depends. If you get caught in a grab and it's just like a Zarya and she has high charge, because a lot of times a Zarya, sometimes I don't think it's necessarily the smartest thing to do, but I see a lot of Zaryas will ult if they're like at 100% charge, and they'll ult to get a couple people in there even though they don't have backup from the team. If she's doing the L2s, definitely have your matrix up, but if she's beaming the people in the graviton, there's no point of matrixing if it's just her, because you can't matrix through, obviously, so you just want to help your team by doing the damage. But if you're stuck in a grab and you have all sorts of people shooting and eating at you and everything, I'd say first prioritize what you think they might combo with. If they have a Tracer, I'm always on the lookout. Okay, where's Tracer gonna come from? Let's eat that ult. Or if they have a Hanzo, if he's close enough, you could eat the ult. There's so many different ults. If it's a soldier, there's so many ults that they could pair with Graviton that you should be cautious of and know to eat.
Yeah, you should be eating Fire Strikes. That's another thing. You should be eating Fire Strikes all the time. Don't let them get past.
For sure, that's super easy ult charge with Reinhardt. I know when I play Reinhardt, I live for the Fire Strikes. I'm just like, okay, I'm just gonna chuck that there and get an easy, like, what, 15%?
Another thing is eating with your mech, not with your matrix. So just say your Mercy gets hammered down and eat the pin for her, because you have a mech, she doesn't.
I don't know about that. I don't like Mercies, so I'm not gonna take anything. I'm just kidding. Triggered Mercy mains everywhere. I'm just kidding. I love Mercies. The thing about D.Va is there's so many different ways that you can ult and you can get away with it. And that's the best thing I think about having Rogue do this video with me, because you have two different D.Va players that, honestly, we play with two different styles. I play a lot more aggressive and I ult, like, I really do get, like, a lot of times I get in their back lines and I'm doing like the flanks and stuff like that. I play very flanky, I play very like in the enemy back lines, stuff like that. And he plays differently. He plays more defensively, and yeah, he plays more defensively, and the way that he ults, he's not really like sneaky Sneakerson like I am. Like, he just kind of like, all right, I have my ult, I'm gonna do it now, but he pulls it off, you know. The way he ults, I can't pull off. The way I ult, he probably can't pull off, you know. But two different play styles. You could probably figure out your own, but we're here to show you ours. You can take whatever you want from it. I know a lot of people, when I show them how I ult with D.va, I always have people adding me on Twitter and they're like, look at this play I just got, thank you, I learned this from you and your ult spots. And sometimes it's exactly the ults that I do and you guys copy it, which is fantastic. Like, I'm glad you learned. But then sometimes people will be like, oh, I came up with this ult spot, I got inspired from watching how you do it. And that's honestly the best thing, because if you guys see what we're doing and you understand basically like how we're ulting and how to do it, and you come up with your own way of doing it, if it works for you, it works for you. Just everything that we're gonna say, you could just take it with a pinch of salt and change up whatever you want. It's at the end of the day, just find out what works for you. But just typical rule of thumb, and again, everything here is preference, take it all with a pinch of salt. But I think some of the most effective ults are honestly blind ones, to be honest. By blind, I mean if you can't see the enemy team, they can't see you. And what I mean by that is, we will demonstrate. So what I mean by blind ult is, over there, Rogue, say hi, Rogue. He's portraying the enemy team. By a blind ult, this is an example of what I don't mean, okay? This is not a blind ult.
Give me to take it.
He saw that coming from a mile away. Alright, he knew exactly where it was coming from, exactly where it was going to land, everything. He had all the opportunities to run away, hide behind things, everything. He saw where it was coming from. He knows, hey, I could go right next to this car and bam, I block it, or whatever. What we want to do when we're ulting is we want to avoid that. We want to avoid the constant line of sight that the enemy team has on your ult. Some of the best ults are the ults that the team doesn't see coming, especially if they have a Reinhardt. Given the current meta right now, Reinhardt's not exactly the biggest issue, which I know a lot of D.va players are probably happy about, because like Reinhardt was always such a buzzkill for D.va ult. But yeah, so a good blind ult is honestly, you just want to lose line of sight with the enemy team. And I know you're probably thinking, okay, well, if I can't see the enemy team, how do I know who's going to be there and where I ult, etc.? Well, in a game, you could always utilize whatever's at the top. If it's an objective map or like King of the Hill or a payload, whatever. At the top, there's always objective, who has possession, or if like you're pushing or escorting or whatever. If you're escorting or defending, if you're defending in particular, say we're in King's Row right now, we're defending. It says who's on the payload and how many people are pushing it. So if you're, say, in a blind position, right? Say I'm over here, people are escorting the payload, and I wanted to chuck an ult. Obviously not over here. Like, say, okay, they're over there. I can see that 4 people are on the payload. They can't see me because, say, they're like all the way over in that bend. But I know that there's 4 people on the payload, and the game at all times always provides an outline of the payload for you. So you know where the payload is, how many people are there, and all you have to do is get the ult there. And okay, given that they're in this alleyway, right? They can't see you, they don't know where it's coming from, but you know where they are, and even though you can't directly see them, and you know where the payload is, so you just need to know, hey, I'm just gonna chuck my ult, and they won't see it coming, but you know, and it'll get them. Reason why blind ults like that are good is because obviously they don't know where it's coming from, so they hear nerf this, but they don't know where to hide exactly. They know, okay, I should hide, but a lot of the times hiding isn't, you don't have a perfect little hiding spot that protects you from everything. You have to hide behind something, but if they don't know where the ult is coming from or where it's gonna land, they don't know what to hide behind or like what direction, you know what I mean? So yeah, blind ults are definitely your best friend. Mess around with the map, know like all the walls, everything like that, know how your mech should slide, what it can slide off of, what it could go over, all the different things. Custom games are your best friend, learning the map, everything like that, and utilize the blind ults. And yeah, with blind ults and just getting in their backlines, everything like that, that's personally how I like to ult as a D.va player. But there's also D.vas like Rogue who really like to play, I don't know, just up there as a tank, and they get away with doing some sick D.va bombs, but they don't have to do any of the fancy sneaky stuff like that. So Rogue, you could walk them through how you do a typical ult.
My ults are a little bit more upfront, so I don't really flank with like you're doing. I wait for like Zarya bubble, so I'll bait out a Zarya bubble or a Reinhardt shield, and I basically give them nowhere to go. That's what I do with my ults. It's like if we go over here, to this spot over here. like somewhere right here. Like this is really open. So just say Reinhardt's positioned here, Zarya's like right here, the rest of the back line's back there. If Zarya wastes her personal, you can just throw the bomb back there and they have nowhere to go. This is wall are blocked off, that's wall, that's wall. They can't go anywhere. They're done.
For sure. And on that note, I think this would be a really good time to talk about what cooldowns to be aware of when you are D.va ulting. I know the necessities, just in terms of like getting, like, I don't know, maximizing what you could be able to do. Always look for, I mean, Reinhardt shield's not cooldown, but if they have a Reinhardt, be cautious of that. But what else? Winston bubble, Zarya's personal and friendly bubble, even things like Mei Wall, Mei Ice Cube, Reaper's Wraith form.
Recall, if Mercy's flying and you see her cooldown for flying.
But in terms of Mercy, another thing, it's not a cooldown, but if you see Mercy flying in for a res, I know, especially if it's like they're rezzing like a Zarya or Winston that I know doesn't have like their cooldowns yet, that is like a phenomenal ult opportunity, because that first couple seconds when they're getting res, they can't move. So they see their impending doom and they can't do anything about it. And it's kind of obvious too when you know Mercy's gonna fly in for a res. Like if you just wipe a lot of their team and you know that the Mercy's hiding and you start to see her start jumping in there and she's about to fly in, I always, when she's flying in, I just go for the ult. And she doesn't even have to res yet. I do it before she actually does it. Because one, if you chuck the ult and she ends up not rezzing because the ult scares her off, you kill the Mercy and you stop the res. But two, if she does end up rezzing, then you kill the team. So honestly, it's a win-win. You can't really waste your ult for that one. It just depends if you're picking off their main healer who's about to res the team, or if you're actually picking off the team itself. Alright, so the first ult spot that I'm going to show is one of my favorite ult spots for King's Row when you're attacking. You can also use this defending, and for every ult spot that we're going to show, it's kind of up to your discretion, like I said earlier. You don't have to do exactly the way that I do it. You can get a general sense of the positioning and basically why I chose that ult spot, and kind of see what other spots on the map that you find similar, and I don't know, just make it your own. So for this first one, I noticed that a lot of people have trouble pushing through this choke and capping this first point, especially if they have, like, I don't know, a good stall comp or cancer comp or anything crazy. And I do notice, especially in somewhat mid to lower level play, it's almost impossible for teams sometimes to push through this choke, because I think in like gold platinum area, from what I've noticed, the defending team holds right around here and the attacking team is always right here, and it's kind of like a little standoff at the choke. And more times than not, the attacking team doesn't win the fight because they'll get the pick and not push or whatever, and it could get a little bit frustrating sometimes if you're playing. So this is what you could do as D.va to help your team push past the choke and capture that point. So what I do is, this first choke I play for ult charge. Once you get your ult, what I like to do is I go for this flank. You want to flank around. I try to get them not to see me. A lot of times, where you can see now, they're where my friend Rogue is. Sometimes they'll be over here. Sometimes they'll be played back. Typically how it is, they'll have, like, say their Reinhardt or Winston up here, and then sometimes depending on what their DPS, the soldier might be over here, or you might have a tracer doing tracer things over there, and the healers would be in the back. And I try to get around. Sometimes I'll fly from the window to here, you know. You could be super sneaky with this big old mech. Not really, but you'd be surprised how many times they get away. So right now, you're completely in the back lines. And I fly across. And then what do you have now? A perfect line of sight of pretty much their entire team. Like I said, you're gonna have, if they're running like a Zenyatta or an Ana, they're gonna be over here. Depending on where they hold, say their front line is over here, or if they push back a little bit, they're gonna be over here. Depending on where they are, where they're holding, they're gonna be anywhere around this general area. That's 100% where they're gonna be holding. And this ult gives you the most incredible line of sight of no matter where it is, and you could adjust it. If they hold up more, you can shoot up more. If they hold back, you can shoot it, whatever. They can't really do much about it because they would have to go, since this is like I don't know, it's more in like a circular shape, if you land your mech anywhere around this little bend, it is really hard for them actually to escape it. And the best part about this is it's another blind ult because they don't know where it's coming from since you're in their backlines, and I'm sure when they hear nerf this, they're not going to expect D.va ulting from behind them that they didn't even know was behind them. So simple ult, depending on however you want to chuck it, how far or whatever. Just chuck it over here. That was just a general where my friend was over here. Again, like I said, you could chuck it further, you could chuck it more back. I don't know, do whatever to make this one your own. Another good part is from the same little window, if they're all on the objective, a good thing that you can do is if they're all on the objective, utilize all the things that D.va ults can slide on. All right, this right here, this building, if you hit the building, it'll slide off the building, off the sign, and it'll land around here, which will get everybody on the objective, everybody on this part of, like, over here too, and in this little alleyway. The reason why I like shooting it, you're probably thinking, like, why do you have to slide it across the building as opposed to why can't you just drop it on the point? Well, one, when you're ulting with D.va, you never want the enemy team to have 100% guarantee of where it's gonna explode. Like, if I just drop my mech right here, they know exactly where it's gonna be. They can hide behind anything. They know where it's gonna blow up, all that stuff. But if I'm throwing my ult over here at this window up here and it's gonna do some slides and some slippery like nonsense, they don't know where it's gonna ult. It might be over here and it might slide that way, or I know where because of the way I'm positioning it, but if they see an ult going this way, you don't know. They don't know if it's gonna slide down or if it's gonna explode up there, if it's gonna slide that way or that way, all that. You want to try to be unpredictable, at least on their side. You want to have control over your own ult, but you don't want them to really know where it is. So that's why when I usually ult, I try to throw my ults, I try to have high ground over it because they don't know how far away from the ground it'll be before it explodes. And also try to, like, I don't know, ult off of things. If you see D.va's ult slides a lot, like, how'd that kill you? Okay, that was a fluke. Just getting calculated. No, but D.va's ult slides off of all different things, and you really want to use that to your advantage. So that's the first one.
Alright, so this is one of my favorite D.va bomb spots. ChristalRaine's over there. This is normally to get a Mercy or any kind of support squishy hero in the back. Mercies normally position themselves right here so they can heal their team without being damaged by the enemies. So go ahead and ult. For the most part, it'll get them unless their Reinhardt's really aware of it. If you're like doing it a lot or if he knows you. But other than that, you should be good.
And this one's also really good because where it lands about right here, which like he said, it does get the Mercy that's over here, kind of away from the team fight, trying not to get picked off. But also it's gonna get the people over here on point unless there is some sort of shield that they are actively hiding behind. So it's not only just like a single ult on the Mercy, but you are like getting rid of the team over here too. Okay, so this next one is good for particularly defense, but honestly, you could even use it for attack too if you want to, I don't know, take it an extra step above. But I think the most ideal circumstance for this one is when you're defending and they're getting either really close to capping the point and you need to make some sort of drastic move, or say it's overtime or something else like that. Especially given the fact that your spawn is right over here, so you're going to be passing this area anyways. I like to get up on top of this little thing, which I know I'm going to get some comments already like, oh my god, I didn't even know that thing existed. Yes, it's here, it's alive, it's well. A lot of people don't know about it, funny enough. But this is actually a perfect, I swear they put this here. They're like, great, ChristalRaine's gonna find out about this. She's gonna make a video about this ult spot right here. So we have to put this here. So yeah, this is a little crutch that we're gonna work with. And this baby goes right on the point perfectly. And I know what you're thinking, like, okay, but why? Why do you have to do it like up there and through the windows and everything? That ult, hi dead body. That ult, they don't see coming until it's literally about to explode over them. When they're on the fight, they're in the fight on the objective and everything, the only time, like, I mean, not the only time, the first time that they're able to see it is when it goes through the window, but that's if they're like over here and they're actively looking. But then by the time it goes through the window, it's only, I'd say, about a second before it even explodes. So all this open space, they don't really have a lot of room to be able to hide behind something. So the reason why I like that ult so much, especially given overtime or something like that, if you're coming back from your spawn and you have your D.va ult, there's been so many times where I saved the game with a clutch ult on overtime, because everybody has to be on the point. And yeah, it's always a couple guaranteed good picks or something. This is an ult that I like to do after you capture objective A. This is pretty much an attacking only ult. Usually after you capture objective A, you get the payload. We all know you're escorting, and usually the team holds right about there, the defending team. For sometimes, some situations, this is a really hard choke to get past, depending on what type of team comp they're running and how hard they're trying to hold the specific choke. But I know that I've been in a few games myself where we have difficulty getting past this. So there is a good ult spot that I can do, where I fly up here, and it's one of the flank ult spots that I do. And this one, you get in the back lines. Always communicate with your team though when you are going for flank ults. I always just say, hey team, I'm gonna get in their back lines real quick, play a little bit more defensively, as if we had a man down or something like that. I'm gonna be gone for 10 seconds. But I only do this type of ult where I'm away from my team if I know I can ensure at least a pick or two. Because you want to be careful, unless you know that it's going to be a good ult, or an ult where you can definitely pick off like a support or at least get one guaranteed pick. You want to try to avoid staying away from your team for too long, because your defense matrix and all that is just way too important to the team to be away from the team fight too much. So over here, now we have a really good line of sight of pretty much their entire team. But you can either chuck the ult and experiment, like I said, with the whole sliding thing. You could hit it against that building and see where it slides. For that one, it'll get right behind whoever's frontlining over here, who has the shield, like say the Reinhardt or the Winston. And it'll get everybody in this general area. Another good ult spot, utilizing the same little thingy up here. This one I like more for attacking, but again, attacking, defending, it just, the only difference is whether it's in the way or if you have to do a little flank or whatnot. So again, ideal for attacking, say they're either contesting the payload or pushing the payload, whatever, and they're anywhere from where my friend is to even over in that corridor. Here, do me a favor, back up into the corridor where you can't see me. Alright, so this ult, it is a little bit tricky. You need to know exactly where the payload is, what's going on, everything like that. But like I said before, you do have the outline of the payload at all times. So say that the payload is in this hallway. Good ult is, and I know this seems a little bit high, but if you chuck it up there, it'll land perfectly at a good height too, not too high as to where it won't get anybody. It landed probably around, I don't know, this height, I guess, ish, maybe a little bit higher. But yeah, chuck it right over where like the roof is, and it'll drop down. So the good thing about that is when they're in this corridor right over here, like Rogue was saying earlier when he was talking about his ult, there's not much place to run. And the best part about it is they don't see it coming because it drops from above them. And I mean, I don't know, if I was the enemy team and I heard nerf this, I'd look left, I'd look right, I wouldn't be like looking up like, oh hi ult. You know, so that's another really good one. And the range it gets is anywhere from over here, and it'll get people over here and over here. So it is a pretty big range, and also given like the trajectory of it and everything, you can't use the payload to hide from it. So that's a big thing too, because you always want to outsmart the payload just as if it was like a Reinhardt shield.
Alright, so this is a good ult for third point. Normally Reinhardt's gonna be positioned here, trying to give his team some leverage. So you can throw all through here. you're trying to slide it off both walls, so it lands like right here. There you go. That's how you want it to land. You're basically going for the backline right there. Alright, so this is exactly the same ult pretty much. It's just you have leverage on this one because you have the bomb is going over. So like demonstrate. Like they really have nowhere to run at all.
They won't have anywhere to hide with that ult as opposed to the one that we showed you previously, because given the height of the ult, it's going to be roughly over the payload depending on where the payload is when you do the ult. But if the payload is anywhere near where the ult detonates, they won't be able to use the payload as shelter, and everything else is pretty open. Okay, so this next ult is actually attacking and defending. Probably my favorite D.va ult spot in the entire game. Honestly, just because I think it's so cool and so over the top, but I love it. And it's one of those that if you pull it off and you pull it off correctly, you're gonna get all those GG and holy shit, I didn't know that was a thing messages afterwards, and those feel good. In the play of the game, it's fun. So this one is really good for, like I said, attacking and defending. If it's for attacking, you're gonna want to use it when it's like either overtime or they're getting close to the end, something like that. Basically it's gonna be over here. But the one I'm showing you right now is defending. We just walked out of spawn and you see the outline of the payload and it's right around there. And you're utilizing your resources. You see at the top, okay, there's 3 on payload right now. They're escorting payload. It's not contested. We know there's 3 people on there. Okay, now there's 4. You're looking at it. You see it's approaching the bend. When it's getting to like around the bend, let me show you exactly where. Anywhere from here to here. All this area and over here as well. It will get everybody over here. And the best part about this, it's all open space. There's nowhere to run, nowhere to hide. So enough talking, and let's see this ult. You drop down, you fly up, chuck the ult, bam. It will land right here if you do it correctly. I mean, you could adjust it, but the reason why you want it to land right over here is because it gets everybody over here, everybody over there. It'll even get people as far as over here, okay? And it'll get people as far as over here as well, just because of the positioning of it. It has such a huge radius. And all the people over here. So basically, anywhere around here, it's just, it has such a good, like, the entire ult spot. Definitely could wipe a couple people, especially if you're like cautious about how many people are on the payload and everything like that. So same ult, different spot. This one's more for when you're attacking, but honestly, you don't even have to limit yourself. You could even do it from here when you're defending. Like, say you're coming out of spawn, as long as it's not overtime and the team actually physically needs you there. And honestly, I'd probably advise not to do this when you're defending, just because it would mean that you're away from your team for quite a bit. But if, I don't know, if your team seems like they could be alone for like, I don't know, 5 or 10 seconds, this might be good as well. So you could just fly over here. If you're defending, get over here. Regardless, attacking, defending, you're over here. And same thing, drop down, jump up, and it lands directly on the point. Depending on where the payload is, where I landed it, I tried to land it exactly over here so I could show you guys. If the payload is right over here, say I was, like I was saying before, it's one of those crazy overtime fights where, oh my god, they almost pushed it, we need to get kills or something. If you were to do that ult when the payload was like really close to the destination, it would have landed on top of the payload and nobody would have been able to hide from it. You could always, I don't know, experiment with the ult. You can land it, say if the payload is more over here, then you could definitely chuck it so it's more over here, or anything. You could bounce it off the wall. I've done a couple where I bounce it off the wall and it slides for a bit. I've done some where I land it more over here. Honestly, all these ults, just take the general idea of it and mess around with it, see what works for you best, see what works best with the situation, and I don't know, overall just make it your own. Just make sure you yell ChristalRaine before you do it so I can take credit for all the kills you get. Okay, so that's all for the first video. I hope this helped. It was just kind of general tips, tricks, stuff like that, and we covered just a couple of our favorite ult spots on King's Row. If you guys want to see other ult spots on different maps, comment below, let us know what map you want to see. We could go in depth, we could do really super in-depth videos on ult spots in certain maps, or ulting in general, or anything. And if you guys have any other D.va tips, tricks, questions, advice, anything like that, comment below, let us know. We'll make a video on it, or we'll reply to your comment. Whatever helps. So yeah, thank you so much. I'll see you guys around. Say bye, Rogue.
Bye.
I have two more that I'm gonna show afterwards anyway, so you could do this next one. Dude, what the fuck is this chain? Hold on, do you see this? Wait, but do you see it?
What?
Look at this chain.
What are you looking at?
Dude, this chain is spinning in a circle. You don't see that?
No.
Chavi, unmute your mic.
Nah, I don't see it.
What?
Yeah, I don't see it.
I think crystals are shrouded.
No, dude.
Yeah, I don't see it.
Dude, come look at this. Dude, come look at this. Oh my god.
2 to the 1 to the 1 to the 3. I play easy mode and I play to win. I love to die and I like to BRB. All systems checked out. Group up with me. 2 to the 1 to the 1 to the 3. I'm here to party. GG. A giant gorilla can keep up with me. You can